Good morning, everyone. I hope you're keeping well and enjoying the good weather lately. As Kieran said, my name is Catherine. I'm the INMO student and new graduate officer. I've been in this role since January of last year. Up until then, I would have been working in the wards as a general nurse in an acute hospital in Dublin. So today, really, as Kieran said, I'm here to outline how exactly the union works. I know Tony kind of touched it earlier, but just to kind of break it down and also go over the salary scales as well, but actually show you them in front of you, because sometimes it's difficult to take it all in when it's just numbers kind of being thrown at you. So as you know, the INMO is the only professional trade union in Ireland solely for nurses and midwives. It is separate from the NMBI, which is your regulator. And after the last year, you know, when you're thinking of the INMO, you're probably thinking along the lines of strike action. But it's really just to hammer home that it's not all about banging on tables. The majority of the day-to-day things that we do would be advise members on rights and entitlements. We have an information office, which Catherine has just outlined to you there. So they provide a same-day response service for information and requests on weekdays via either the phone or email. They're a great resource to have. You know, as a new graduate, you're going to be busy settling into your new role and just, you know, finding your feet. You're not going to know an awful lot about health and safety legislation. And with COVID this year, that's absolutely fine, but it's more about knowing where you can go to get, you know, accurate information. We know about the policies and the legislation, and we're there to advise you if you come to us. And as Catherine mentioned, obviously they know an awful lot about contracts. It's important, I suppose, to remember it is a legal document. Once you sign this, you're accepting the terms and conditions, so make sure that you're reading them before you're signing them. We also advise on issues in the workplace, so things like bullying. There's a process for receiving support, and we can advise you on the dignity at work policy. If you're ever pulled up on a disciplinary issue, we can advise you, we can represent you if needs be, or say if you, for example, you have an issue with another member of staff or a manager. Chances are you probably don't feel comfortable, you know, approaching them about it in the beginning. We can explain to you how the grievance procedure works and support and guide you through the process of addressing it. There may also be times where you're not actually involved directly in an incident, but you could be asked to give a statement as a witness. And we're there to advise you before you write your statement. So we have a guide, you know, a guideline for writing a statement. We really would recommend that you get in touch with us before you submit any sort of written statement. Really, the issue is yours at the end of the day, but we're there to help to support you through the process of addressing it in whatever manner that might be. We can also provide advice and guide members through the process of going through fitness to practice. So obviously it's a position nobody wants to be in. So many people think, you know, it's not going to happen to me, but, you know, again, it might not be the case that you've actually done anything necessarily. Someone can simply make an allegation against you that initiates it. And once it's initiated, that process has to be seen through. We have Barrister Edward Matthews, who trained as a nurse, and he's there to support and guide you through the process if you remember at the time of the incident or the time of the referral. And he's going to be talking to you later on today in the second half of the webinar. In terms of how the INMO was structured, we are a democracy. You know, the INMO is you, we're your advisors, your representatives, your negotiators. The INMO was set up by nurse and midwives and to protect the interest of nurse and midwives. And I won't go over the examples that Tony went over again earlier, but it's things as simple as, you know, last year nurses being sent home for not being able to wear a mask in the start of the pandemic. You know, you really do need support there, and the INMO is there to give it to you. So if you're looking at the ground level, there are reps in each workplace who act as link people. So reps are nurses and midwives who receive special rep training, so they understand rights and entitlements really well. I myself would have been guilty as a new grad working on the wards, being a bit naive, I think, looking back, you know, because I just assumed the INMO was aware of all the issues I was having either as a new graduate or the issues I was having on my ward or in my hospital, purely because they existed, you know, and the issue seemed so obvious to me. So I just assumed the INMO would know about it. But of course, it's really important that you actually communicate with your reps or with your union officials, because we can't help to support you to address an issue that we don't know about. You know, so it is important to, if you have an issue, to contact your reps in the first place. If you don't know who they are, you can contact the INMO office and they'll be able to let you know. So when you're contacting the reps with an issue, they might be able to say, oh yeah, actually there was a meeting on that with management last week and the outcome was whatever it was. Or they might say, oh, actually, no one's raised that issue before. Let me raise it with the union official for the area. Like, if it needs to be referred on, it will be. If any of you are interested in becoming a rep or learning more about what's involved, please do send me an email and I can go through it with you. I would also strongly advise each of you to attend your local branch meetings, as these are a great source of information and allow you to keep up to date. So they're meetings organised by the branch officers and by the union officials, so they're for all the members in that area. There are also 3 regional youth forums for INMO members: the Eastern Youth Forum, Western Youth Forum and Southern Youth Forum. So these are sections that are run by members for students and qualified members under the age of 35. Being part of a youth forum doesn't, you know, replace attending a branch meeting, rather it offers you an extra way of receiving up-to-date information. So members would meet regularly throughout the year, so you can develop a network of colleagues while also staying informed. These forums can also bring a motion forward to ADC. So that's the annual GILD conference that's held each year by the INMO. And if a motion is passed at ADC, it means that it becomes a priority for the INMO to work on over the coming year. So it's a great way of having your voice heard. If you're interested in learning more, please do get in touch. There are industrial relation officers and industrial relation executives that cover each area. So you might hear the term IRO or IRE. So these are union officials who advise, support and represent members. I suppose it's really important to note that they're not just another branch of workplace management, they are separate from the workplace and they're there to support you. I think some people worry that, if they're seeking advice from their union official, that means, they're escalating an issue, or, does that mean that the union official is going to go to my manager now because I've raised this issue? But that's not the case. If you think back to what I said earlier, the issue is yours at the end of the day. If you just want to go for advice and you don't want to progress an issue, that's absolutely fine. It's your choice. The union official isn't going to pursue a matter without you. So I suppose to give you a couple of examples of issues that we've helped represent new graduates over the last number of years, we can help at the individual level if there's just an issue with one staff member in a workplace. So a couple of years ago, there was a graduate nurse who was making a series of drug errors, and management were seeking to remove the nurse from clinical practice and to end their contract. However, the member had an undisclosed diagnosis of dyslexia. So the INMO intervened, they made significant representations on their behalf, and they were successful in getting appropriate supports put in place. So that meant the nurse was able to remain in practice in the clinical environment, and there weren't any further issues in terms of drug errors after that, to my knowledge. In terms of collective issues, sometimes an issue is affecting more than just one nurse or midwife. So for example, new graduates in another hospital a couple of years ago were told when they started working, there weren't enough car parking spaces in staff car parks, they just couldn't use it, simple as. Now that's obviously unfair. New graduates are employees, you can't be treated any less favourably than other employees unless there's a justifiable reason for it. The new graduates contacted their INMO IRO for the area, who then engaged with management, and within the space of a couple of days, the new graduates were able to use staff car park. Oftentimes, new graduates find that when they have issues, it's often related to the rate of pay and how they're progressing up the salary scale. So just to give you an example that was raised by the rep of a group of new graduates a couple of years ago, there were two issues with one particular cohort of new graduates in a hospital. The first issue was that they were remaining on the pre-reg rate of pay for weeks and months after they had received their NMBI PIN. So it meant they were doing the work of a staff nurse, but they were being paid as if they were a pre-reg. The second issue then was that they weren't receiving recognition for their 36-week internship for incremental credit. So it meant after 16 weeks of work, they weren't progressing to the next point of the salary scale, and that again was resulting in loss of earnings for the new graduates. The INMO made significant representations and they were successful. So all the members who approached their rep, who then approached the union official about the issue, were put in the correct point of the salary scale and received back pay of, I think it was between 600 and 1,500 euro. So it's a huge amount of money that's there. If you're not checking your pay slips, you could be missing out on potentially. So this year I've gotten a lot of contact from new graduates about progressing up the salary scale, and as it's such an important issue, I just want to take this opportunity to explain to you how your pay should change as you become new graduates. So when you get your NMBI PIN, you'll move on to the first point of the pay scale at just over 30,600 euro. Normally, incremental credit means that for every year of work that you do, you move up 1 point in the pay scale. The INMO had fought previously to get the 36 weeks of internship recognised with incremental credit. So that meant before the strike, instead of having to wait a full year after you qualified to move on to point 2, you would have progressed to point 2 of the pay scale after just 16 weeks of work, which is 30,499 euro. And you can see on the left-hand column there how you've progressed through the salary scale before the strike. But as part of the settlement now, as mentioned by Catherine and Tony earlier, this has all changed. So after 16 weeks of work, and that includes time worked as a pre-reg, you get to skip point 2 and move directly to point 3 of the scale, which is 33,388 euro. So it means after 16 weeks of work, you're already making almost a grand extra than you would have done otherwise. 1 year later then, you move on to point 4 of the pay scale, and that then allows you to sign the new enhanced practice contract and switch over to the enhanced practice pay scale. So what that means is after a year and 16 weeks of work, you'll be earning 37,161 euro. And you can see on the right-hand side of the scale of the column there in red, if you sign the enhanced practice contract that was negotiated as part of the strike settlement, you'll earn much more over the course of your career than you would have otherwise. So after 10 years, you'll have earned an extra over 37,000 euro. Just to say about the enhanced practice contract, the only difference between a nurse or midwife or an enhanced practice nurse or midwife is the enhanced practice nurse or midwife is paid more because they have access to this new scale. There's no change in the terms and conditions of employment, and there's no negative impact on your pension. If anything, it's positive for your pension. Your base rate of pay will be higher. That means your premium rate of pay will be higher. So you're earning more over the course of your career, so you're paying more into your pension, so it'll be increased. There is a location allowance, as mentioned earlier, of €2,347 for staff working in eligible areas. So this allowance was increased by 20% as part of the settlement, and it's also been extended to areas that wouldn't have had it before. So now if you're a nurse working in a medical or surgical ward, or a midwife working in the maternity department who wouldn't have previously been eligible, you can now qualify for the location allowance. There's also a specialist qualification allowance of €3,525 for staff employment duties in areas relevant to their postgraduate qualification. So the Information Office have put a list of eligible areas that qualify for the location allowance and of courses that qualify for the specialist qualification allowance on the INMO website on their webpage. So it is worth checking out if you're curious to see if that's going to be applicable to you when you're graduating for the area that you're going into. So my main takeaway really in relation to pay is keep an eye on your payslips. You know, in an ideal world, you should be moving up the salary scale correctly, but sometimes that isn't the case and you might remain in the same increment for longer than you're supposed to. So it is your responsibility to keep track of your rate of pay. If you notice that you aren't progressing up the salary scale correctly, get in touch either with myself, with the Information Office, with the INMO union official for your area. We can give you advice on how to seek the correct level of pay. And if that's unsuccessful, then we can engage with your workplace on your behalf and represent you if needs be. I'm sure that, you know, a lot of what I've said about progressing up the salary scale is difficult to remember. I know when it was first explained to me, it took a couple of goes for it to really sink in. So I will be doing smaller sessions with interim groups to focus on explaining the salary scale, and I'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. So I'll be organising these sessions via Zoom with your INMO student reps closer to the end of your internship, so it'll be fresh in your mind then for when you're qualifying. The other thing that I just want to remind you of is that while you are student members at the moment, you are going to be falling off the membership once you finish your internship. So you wouldn't have had to think about renewing your student membership before, but as you're going to transition into new graduates, it is your responsibility to make sure you're covered, because unfortunately we can't represent you in the workplace or at a fitness to practice hearing unless you're a member at the time of the incident or the time of the referral. I suppose, just speaking from personal experience, I think the first 6 months as a new graduate is the time where you're most likely, you know, to make a mistake, and that you might need that extra little bit of support if that happens. You can kind of think of it like car insurance. You know, you can't crash your car and then go to the insurer afterwards and say, I'd like to take out a policy. I suppose the last thing I want to be in is a position 4 or 5 months down the line where I'm getting phone calls saying, Catherine, I made a mistake, I need some help. And I have to say, I'm really sorry, you're not actually a member. You used to be, but you're not anymore. So I'm not trying to scare you, but I do think it is within your interest to have representation from someone. I suppose just to highlight, it's not all doom and gloom, you know, in relation to workplace issues. There are a lot of other benefits to being a member of the union that aren't related to industrial relations. So for example, we have a professional development centre. They hold courses and workshops each month. They're called the PDC, you might hear it referred to as that. So these courses are advertised in the WIN magazine that's sent to members each month. And I can say from experience that they're a really useful way of keeping your skills up to date. When I was working on the wards, I would have gone to the likes of the wound care management and the airway management courses, and they were just a really good way of keeping my skills up to date. There is also a library which can assist with literature searches and referencing. I know that you finish your FYPs and your literature reviews and you probably don't want to think about doing another academic assignment for a long time, but it's just if you do go on to do a postgraduate course, it's a good resource to keep in the back of your mind that it's there for you. I've mentioned that we also have the Information Office. They offer a same-day response service, and they also have a really good resource in terms of their website. They keep up to date with a lot of information, so it's worth keeping an eye on that. Members also have access to a 24-hour legal advice helpline and a 24-hour counselling helpline. And if you want more information on that, it's available on the INMO website. All INMO members also have access to Corn Market's reward schemes. So they offer a wide range of services, and Niall from Corn Market is going to outline these to you in just a couple of minutes. So if you are interested in keeping your membership up once you qualify, there's a few ways that you can sign up for full membership. You can either sign up online or download a form and post it into the membership department. And you can opt to either pay annually or pay monthly. So annual membership is €299 per year. If you're paying through your pay slips, it works out at $11.50 if you're paid fortnightly, or $24.92 if you're paid per calendar month. So normally when someone signs up for membership, they need to start paying fees straight away, similar to if you were joining the gym or something like that. But if you are a student member and you sign up in the way that I show you now, I can arrange to extend your free existing student membership to cover you for your pre-reg period. Additionally, if you're signed up in this way, we can get you a voucher for a free course with the INMO PDC, the Professional Development Centre. Due to the COVID-19 restrictions, unfortunately, we obviously can't give you a paper form. So we've developed a two-step online process, which is available for a limited time only for current internship student members on the INMO website. As it's providing an extension of your existing student membership, it is important that you complete and submit the form before your internship ends. So it's on the student and new graduate webpage on the website. So if you go to INMO.ie, it's under the education tab. Hopefully it's not your first time on the page, but sure, look, if it is, have a look around. There are some other articles that are there that you might find useful. There's things on like how to understand terms in your payslip or the grievance procedure and things like that. So the form is circled there in red. It's labelled as 2021 INMO intern members. You're brought to a page that will look like this. It's just really important that you download the form and then fill it in, because unfortunately, for whatever technical reason, and we tried to solve it, if you fill it in online and then download it, it's just going to download the blank form, so you just need to fill it in again. So once you've downloaded and completed the form, it should look something like this. It is really important that you complete all the details and all the fields in the form, because otherwise the membership department won't be able to process it. So make sure you're including your name, your address, email address, phone number, work location. For your email address, make sure you're putting one that you check regularly, as that's how the majority of communication would be done. Your INMO student membership number is on the card that would have been given to you when you first joined membership, and it's also in emails that you receive from the INMO. So like members' updates emails sent by the General Secretary, Phil Hay. For work location, if you don't know where you're going to be working, you can put unknown location and select bank deduction. It's up to you whether you prefer to pay by payroll deduction or bank deduction. Payroll deduction means the fee is taken automatically from your payslip, and it's just really handy because it means you don't have to think about it. It's the way that I would have paid my fees as a member. Bank deduction means the fee is deducted from your bank account via standing order. So it's just important to remember that if you're moving work locations and you're paying your fees by payroll deduction, you let the membership department know, because otherwise they won't know that your payroll department has changed. They see the fees won't be coming in and they might actually think that you're cancelling your membership. On the form, you also have the option of being informed about what benefits Corn Market can offer you. Ticking yes doesn't mean that you're automatically signing up for anything. It just means you're going to get information about what all the options are. So if you're a little bit on the fence, it's no harm ticking yes, because it means then you're not going to miss out on anything. Once you've completed the form, you can just save it, email it to the membership department, their email address on the bottom of the form there. They will then post you out the payment deduction form with a self-addressed envelope to return to them. So basically it just means that they need a physical signature, you don't have to go out and buy a stamp. They'll also post you out a form for the Recruit a Friend initiative. This initiative is run year round. It's great, and to keep in the back of your minds going forward. Really, it means if a full member of the INMO, so say Joe Bloggs, recommends a non-full member of the INMO, say Mary joins, and she does, when Mary's filling out the form, if she puts Joe's name, it means that Joe gets a €20 one for all voucher. This can be something, and this is something that's running year round. It's good to keep in the back of your mind going forward. I know that your class reps have done an awful lot of work over the last year in terms of keeping you up to date, giving you lots of information on the work of the INMO over the last year. So you might consider putting their name down on the form as the person who recruited you. So I really want to thank you for your attention. These are my details there. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch, either via email or phone or through your reps. Congratulations again on reaching the end of your internship. You've come through such a tough year like no other. There'd be no group of new grads like you. Fair play.